Well, good afternoon. Now I am just going to give a lecture on XML and web services, which is a very important topic, and we are just living in and around along with this web service as a real-time world. So nowadays online trading seems to be the most important one, and it became an important part of our life. So this web service became an important part in this online trading. So now we will be just seeing about this XML and web services. While we are just seeing about this web service, what is the need for an XML? XML is the backbone of web service. So first let us see what is XML and what are the things that is available in XML. So that would be helping to carry forward to know about web service. So first we will just see to XML. So what is XML? XML is nothing but it is an extensible markup language. So it comes under the family of markup language. Why it is called as, or else why it is named as extensible? So it can be extended to wherever and whenever to how much we need. So it is called extensibility. The document that is available in this markup language is extensible. So it is called as extensible markup language. So the history of XML is it just came under SGML, Standard Generalized Markup Language. This Standard Generalized Markup Language is the mother of all the languages, markup languages. So under this SGML we have first one HTML and second one that is XML. So for HTML and XML, SGML is the mother. So earlier days when we are just using markup language, it was only SGML, a Standard Generalized Markup Language. Later evolved HTML, then followed by XML. XML is not the replacement of HTML. HTML is different and XML is different. Okay, first let me just know what is the difference between a HTML and an XML. So when we know about the difference between this HTML and XML, then only we can just understand what is the difference, where all this HTML is used and XML is being used. So first one, HTML. HTML is nothing but it is a presentation format. So when we want to present a data, we just go for HTML. Then what about XML? XML is nothing but representation of data. So HTML is presentation of data, XML is representation of data. So here HTML just tells how the data should look. HTML tells how the data should look. Rather XML tells what the data is. So this is the major difference between a HTML and an XML. HTML just tells how the data looks, XML just tells what the data is. So this XML is not the replacement of HTML. Other one important point regarding the elements or tags that is used in these markup languages is, for HTML all the tags that we are just using in HTML are predefined tags. It is already defined. So each and every tag that is available in HTML has its own functionality. For example, if we are just using a tag as a simple letter called as B, the content that is available within this B tag is being displayed in the form of bold. So this particular letter B tag consists of a function. So only this HTML has predefined tags. Rather XML. What about the case of XML tags? XML tags, all the tags are user defined tags. We user by ourselves we define the, or else we name the tags. For example, simply this is a tag. So this name tag does not have any functionality. So we users just create the name as the tag name. Okay. So does it do any function? No, it does not do any function. Then what is the use of this particular user defined tag? So this is nothing but it is called as meta tag. This is called as a meta tag. What do you mean by a meta tag here? So meta tag is nothing but data about data. So here normally we know this is the starting tag and this is the ending tag. So here what is this meta tag? So this meta tag, this name indicates the content available within this tags is a name data. So it tells what the data is inside the corresponding tag. But here in HTML it tells the data that is available inside this tag should look in a bold format. So it performs a functionality over the content, but here it tells what the data is. So that is the major difference between this HTML and XML. So normally this is the difference. So XML is not the complete replacement of HTML. So now what is an XML? XML is a meta markup language. So what do you mean by a meta markup language? Meta markup language is nothing but data about data. Okay, so this meta markup language gives what the data is. So important point about XML is nothing but XML is data representation. It represents what the data is. It represents what the data is. The next one regarding this meta markup language and data representation, it simply carries the data. It simply carries the data. So this XML carries the data in the form of XML data from one application to other application. So after telling about what XML is, then I will be just telling you what is the use of XML and where it is used, how it is used, what all the things that is available in this corresponding XML. So after this carries the data, it is structured and semantic language. It is structured and semantic language. What do you mean by structured and semantic language? So this particular thing is has a default hierarchical level structure, and the semantic is it tells or else defines about the corresponding information. So these are the some of the information regarding what an XML is. So apart from these things, when we want to tell about XML, XML is a hierarchical tree-like structure. So what do you mean by a hierarchical tree-like structure? It's nothing but starting from the beginning, so which is called as root node, followed by child elements. So from here we have some other child elements. So this is the tree-like structure. So how we just say this as a tree-like structure in the sense the tags or else the document, the format of that document will be in a hierarchical tree-like structure. That's why we just say about this corresponding XML as a hierarchical tree-like structure, structured and semantic language. So rules and regulations of building an XML document. XML is will be developed in the form of a document. So what is the rules and regulations of this corresponding document? So there are many rules that is available in this corresponding XML. So those rules are called as well-formedness rules. So the rules that is used for building an XML document is said to be called as well-formedness rules. What do you mean by a well-formedness? Well-formedness is the rules which forms well to create an XML document such that it is parsed completely by the XML parser. So what is a parser, XML parser here? A parser which processes the XML document that is available in the web browsers. They are called as XML parsers. So the XML parser will be just allowing or else parsing the informations, that is XML information, only if it satisfies the well-formedness rule. A document is said to be called as a correct document or else a well formed document only when the rules are being satisfied. First one, okay, first rule is no nested tags are used. So every tag should be strictly closed. So closed tags, all the tags should be closed properly. So rather in case of HTML we will be having nested tags and also we won't be having proper tags that is been closed. Okay, so nested tags is not allowed here. So every tag should be a closed tag. That is the first and well formedness rule. Second one is case sensitiveness. So what is case sensitiveness? So the tags that we use in XML are case sensitive. So for example, if you are using a tag, so the starting tag that is available in the form of uppercase, the ending tag that is available in the form of lowercase. So this should not be allowed. So if it is lowercase, both starting and ending should be in a lowercase. If it is uppercase, both ending and starting tag should be in a uppercase. So that's what it is being told as case sensitiveness. Then third one unique element should be there, which is called as root element. One unique element should be strictly available, which is called as the root element. So this particular document begins from the root element and it is being followed by the corresponding child elements. So rather the child elements can be of many times that can be repeated, but the corresponding root element should be a unique element that should be used only once in the corresponding document, which is the beginning of the document. So that's why it is called as one unique element. So which is also called as a root element of the corresponding document. Then fourth one, these three symbols should not be used: greater than, less than symbol and symbol. Greater than, less than and symbol. These three symbols should not be used inside the content part of the corresponding document. Why these three symbols are not to be used? The thing is, these three symbols are used for building the document. For example, this tags normally uses greater than and less than symbol. So when we just use these symbols inside the content part, the XML parser would be getting confused which is the element and which is the data. And this AND symbol is also used in entity reference. So entity reference is one of the component that is available in this corresponding XML. So these three symbols are not used, rather the corresponding parser should be getting confused. Other than other symbols, we can use it in the corresponding content part. So these are all some of the well formedness rules that should be followed to build an XML document. So now we will just see a sample example of an XML document, and we can just study what all the things that is available in an XML document. So that will be just making it under the category of anatomy of XML document. So when you are just talking about anatomy of XML document, we have two parts, two major parts of XML document. One is prologue part, second one is document. These are the two important parts that is available in an XML document. So this prologue is said to be called as a header part. This document is said to be called as body or content of the document. Body or content of the document. These two parts we are just going to see. So first let us see a prologue part. So how a prologue part begins? Prologue part begins with a first line called as XML declaration line. It starts with a question mark symbol followed by XML. This is the tag that initially begins, and this indicates this as an XML document. Then a space is allowed, then version is equal to 1.0. Here version is an attribute. So version is an attribute that denotes what version of XML we are just using it here. So earlier it was 1.0, a value that I am just giving it for a version attribute, then followed by another attribute called as encoding. So second attribute is encoding attribute. First one is version attribute, second one is encoding attribute. Encoding value is UTF-8. UTF means universal code, that is universal encoding format. So UTF-8 is one format of data. So what is this encoding? Each and every continent they use one type of data format. Our Asian country we just use UTF-8. In case of American continent they use ANSI code. Okay. So likewise many encoding format are there. So we are mentioning which type of data encoding format we are using here. This is the second part. Then third attribute is standalone. Standalone is the third attribute. So what is the use of this standalone attribute? So this standalone attribute denotes whether this corresponding XML document does not get any support of external file and it is standing alone. If the value is yes, it is standing alone and does not get any support from an external file. If you are giving the value as no, the meaning is this corresponding XML document is getting a support from an external file. So later I will be just telling you what are all the supporting files that will be helping or supporting this corresponding XML document. So this standalone has only two values, one is yes or no. If it is yes, no support is given to this XML document and it stands alone. If it is no, an external file is being included in this corresponding document which supports it. This first line is called as declaration line. So in this prologue part we can leave n number of white line spaces. So what is the need for white line spaces? To understand clearly or else for readability we just leave this corresponding line spacing. So the XML parser will not just bother about such type of line spacings here. So next we will be just going for second part of a prologue which is called as a comment line. A comment line begins with an exclamatory symbol and two hyphens followed by two hyphens. So a content, then followed by two hyphens, then we are closing it. So at the beginning we have an exclamatory symbol followed by two hyphens. At the end we have only two hyphens and not followed by an exclamatory symbol, and we close it. So what is the use of this comment line? This comment line is no use of this corresponding document. Rather this comment line can be used for the user purpose, can understand what this document is. So wherever the comment is needed we can use it inside the document itself. The parser will not parse this comment line. This is for the reader purpose. The reader can understand what is this document, how it has been framed, the information about this document can be given here. So that's all about a comment line. So the third line is there. Third line is said to be called as a supporting technology including line. That is called as a supporting technology including line. So what do you mean by supporting technology including line? Any other supporting technology or external files that is to be included into this corresponding XML document, we just go for this third line. So when you are just telling about an example, we will be seeing about the third line. Rather we will be just going directly to the corresponding document. So these are all the things that covers under prologue part. Next, we will be just going with the second part of this corresponding document, that is document part. For example, so we begin the document like this. So this is said to be called as a root element. This is said to be called as a root element, begins from the comment line, next to the comment line. So next followed by so we begin our document like this. So this is said to be called as the root element. So this root element is an unique element. So next one is book. So book is said to be called as the child element of the inventory. Child element of the inventory, which is said to be called as a nested element. So inside that we have many elements. Inside that we have many elements, namely called as name, accession number, price and publisher. So here these element does not contains any sub elements. This nested elements can also be called as sub elements. So here this consists of data part. This does not consist of any other elements here. So we are closing it here. Same of this accession number consists of data, so we are closing it here. Same of price, data, we are closing. Publisher, data here, we are closing it. So after this we just close this corresponding book element. So this is information about a book. So like this we can use this corresponding book tag or else book element name as much time we need. For example, if a library has 1000 books, so we can use this corresponding book tag 1000 times. So one tag is equal for one tag. Second element, the same repeatedly book for second tag. You can just ask me how we can just differentiate between the first book element, the second book element. Rather, I just told 1000 times you can use this book element. We can just use an attribute here. So this is called an attribute. An attribute is used at the starting tag of any element. An attribute is used at the starting tag of any element. So why we use an attribute here? How this attribute helps us in differentiating one book element with the other book element. So this attribute is used for differentiating identical elements. This attribute is used for differentiating identical elements. This is the name of the attribute, this is the value of the attribute. Other one important thing here that is to be told here is there are many attributes that is available, so that should not have an empty value. So at the time of defining about this corresponding attribute, we can just define about whether the value is needed, optional, mandatory, fixed value or else default value. These are all many options that is available for this corresponding attribute. So this is how we just tell about an example of an XML document. This is a prologue part and this is a document part. So in this document part we have a root element followed by a sub element followed by its corresponding child elements. So we are closing it. Finally, after finishing everything, we just close with the root element. We just close with the root element. Like this, we have many number of element sets we have. So we can just have book here, same again book here, like 1000 times we are just using this book element. Finally, we have to just finish it with this corresponding root element. This is the example for or a simple XML document. So now these elements are user defined elements. We user just give the name for this corresponding element, inventory. So already told you these tags are meta tags. So how we have to know about this data about data? For example, this inventory tag is an information that tells that content that is available in the document is about inventory. So it is data about data. Second one, book element is a sub element. All the sub elements consist of book informations. Then here inside that the child elements, name tells about the name of the book. Access and number tells about the access and number of the corresponding book. This one, price of the corresponding book. This is the publisher of the corresponding book. This is how this particular meta tags gives data about the data that is available inside the tag. So this is a simple example how we just build an XML document. So next to this corresponding XML document, we are just going for a supporting technologies. So where the value of the standalone will be becoming as no. So what is a supporting technology here? So already I have told about this particular XML. XML is simply data representation. XML can carry only data. It cannot do anything with data. So then what is the use of this XML? This XML is an open standard. It just makes the data as an open standard format. So when a data is being converted in the form of XML, it is a standard open format data. Anyone can access the corresponding XML data. So it will become an interoperable environment. So that will be studying it later, how it becomes interoperable environment. Now we will be just going with the supporting technology, what it is. So when the standalone value will be becoming as no in the sense when a supporting technology is being included this. So what is a supporting technology? So there is a technology called as validation technology. There is a technology called as validation technology. How we will validate this document? How we will validate whether the document is in a correct format, in which format the receiver is been expecting, how it is being built. So how we can structure a corresponding document, that can be done by a validation technology. Earlier when this corresponding XML was evolved, they were just using a technology called as validation technology called as DTD. It is called as document type definition. So this document type definition is a validation technology that was available for validating this document. So what does the DTD do? That DTD defines the type and structure of this corresponding document, defines what the document is and defines how the structure of the document should be. So that's the job of this corresponding validation technology called as DTD. So later when XML became more dominant and XML became very famous in market, what are all the supporting technologies that was available? They went for an exclusive technology for this corresponding XML. So in case of this validation technology, as DTD was used in many markup languages, they went for planning a particular exclusive technology of validation, that is called as XML schema. This XML schema is one of an important and exclusive validation technology that helps to define the XML document and to structure the XML document. So this was later an exclusive technology. Now first, initially we will be just seeing about DTD. So DTD, we have to create a DTD file as an external file, and also we can create that as an internal file. We have two type of DTDs, an internal DTD and an external DTD. So what is the difference between an internal DTD and an external DTD? So internal DTD is nothing but defining the document inside the XML document itself. We no need to go for an external file. So that type of DTD is called as internal DTD. So you can just ask me, we have only two parts, one is prologue part and second one is called as your document part. Then how come this corresponding DTD come into an XML document? I have already told you there is a third line in a prologue part which tells you about including of a supporting technology or an external file. That is the place where this internal DTD will be used. Then what about the case of external DTD? External DTD is nothing but this defining of the document, structuring the type of the document will be done as an external file. So that external file would be just used as a link into this corresponding document at the third part. I will just show you the difference between an internal DTD and an external DTD. So here we have it as document. So first is doc type. So what is this doc type? It tells about document type. What type of document is being included in this corresponding XML document. Document type space root element, document type space root element. A simple thing that we have to keep in mind that well-formedness rules tells about case sensitiveness of this tags. So here I have mentioned the root element inventory. So there in the document also we have mentioned about inventory. There it is in a smaller case. Only the beginning letter is in capital and the remaining part in a smaller case. So but here I have mentioned in a full in uppercase. So this is not acceptable and it is not a well-formedness. So we have to make it as we have it there in the document. So then space in uppercase we have write a keyword called as system. So what is the use of this keyword called as system? This system denotes that this document type an external DTD is an external DTD that is been coming from an or else used in an external file. So this denotes and resources from an external file. Then space file name dot DTD. So the third line is doc type space root element name. What root element we are using here? Its name, then space, then system. System is a keyword that denotes the XML parser. The following file is being used as an external file. Then we are closing. This is the third part of including an internal DTD. Sorry, external DTD. Next one, how we will be including an internal DTD. Here you just remove this. We have doc type, we have inventory, we make it with a open square braces. We make it with a open square braces. Then followed by the content that is available in a DTD. What are all the content that is available in the DTD? That would be available here completely. After completing everything, we close it. We just close it with a square brace. Then finally, we just close it like this. All the DTD file content will be coming within the square brace. So now I will just tell you what content will be coming inside this corresponding square brace. And one important thing is the content that is coming inside an internal DTD and the content that is available as a form of external file DTD, both are similar. We don't have any difference between internal and external. Only thing is including inside the document differs. So we have to begin like this in the format of XML2. First one is element. So this element is a keyword that denotes the description that is given here is of an element. We are going to define about an element. Element space root element name. What root element we are having? Inventory here. So inside inventory, how many elements are there? So inside inventory we have only one element called as only book. So you can just ask me, what about the case of name, accession number, price and publisher? All these 4 elements comes inside book, but inside inventory we have only one element called as book. So book is being used many times. So it is book. So when an asterisk symbol is being used, this indicates that this particular element can be used many number of times. So this is named as qualifier. This is named as qualifier. What is a qualifier? Qualifier is a symbol that is used or else that denotes how many times that corresponding element can be used in the XML document. So that is a small denotion here. Then we just close it. We have to just define this in a hierarchical order, starting from the root element, then from the sub element, then from the corresponding child elements. So second one is we have to just define about a book here. So what about the case of book element here? So inside book we have 4 elements. So we can just name that in a sequential order separated by commas. So next, this is the definition for the root element. Then we have to follow it by the next following sub element. Sub element is book. So here this book element consists of 4 immediate child elements. Rather this root element inventory have only one child element, but that corresponding element can be used many number of times. Here this book element we have 4 elements. So we can just write it sequentially separated by commas. Name, comma, accession number, comma, price, comma, publisher. So this is the format which defines this is the parent element and these are all the child elements. So in the first line, this is the parent element and these are all the child elements. Why I am just telling in a plural format? The qualifier that denotes this book element can be used many times. So this is, these 2 line tells which element comes first, which element acts as a sub element and which are all the child elements. The next one, we don't have any other elements apart from this name, accession number, price or publisher. Now I have to go and explain about the next thing. So what is the next thing? So next one is an attribute list. So what is an attribute list? So attribute list is nothing but what attribute we are using it here. So here in the book element we are using only one attribute named as ISBN. So here we have to write the keyword as ATT list, that is attribute list space element name, then what is the attribute that has been used? Attribute is ISBN, then so attribute list, which element, in that element what is the attribute it has been used, what is the use of the attribute, that is called as ID. This is called as identity. So identity which tells about what is the use of that attribute in the corresponding element. Here we use this ISBN for identifying each and every book. one book with the other book. So that's why we just use here as identity. Then hash required. What is the use of this hash required? This required is a value that denotes the attribute should be strictly used in the book element, and this attribute should strictly have a value that is been denoted here in the form of required. We have 4 type of values that we just use it here in this place: hash required, hash implied, hash fixed, and hash default. So what is the difference between all these 4 values? Required, it is mandatory and it is strictly attribute should be used. Second one is implied. When we are just using implied, so this attribute is optional. If we want, we can use it, otherwise we no need, we cannot use it. Then third one is fixed. So when you are using hash fixed here, that one is optional. That can be an optional. If you are giving a value, we cannot change the value. That value is a fixed value. So that is been denoted in hash fixed. Then the fourth one is hash default. So what do you mean by hash default here? A default value should be, by default a value should be used in that corresponding attribute. That is been denoted in this line. So this is for attribute definition. So first 2 lines defines about an element, then third line defines about an attribute, only one attribute we are using here. Then we are just going for next one. So what is the next one that is been used here? Then we have to explain starting from the corresponding child elements. Book we have mentioned about an attribute that is used inside the book. Then we are just going for the corresponding child elements. So we are just telling about a name element. Inside name element, if you are just using any other elements, we can just give it in the braces. Otherwise, has PC data. Normally it is so that all the elements should be coming at the beginning, then only we have to come to the next format, that is called as attribute list. As I have to just mention or else denote you about this attribute is meant for this one, I have write it first. Otherwise I will be writing the element first, finishing explaining, defining about all the elements, then I will be coming for this attribute list. So element name has PC data. What do you mean by has PC data? Inside this name element, we don't have any sub elements. Rather we have only datas. The same case for accession number, you have data. Price, you have data. Publisher, you have data. So all these 4 elements have only data. They don't have any child elements. So then we have to just explain about or define about these corresponding datas. So here we are not mentioning here as case of child elements. We are mentioning about data. So data in the sense what type of data is being used there. That is called as has PC data. PC data means parsed character data. What do you mean by parsed character data? Parsed character data is nothing but what are all the characters that is parsed by the XML parser that is available by default in the web browsers. So those type of data is called as parsed character data. This particular data type definition for this corresponding element seems to be a disadvantage of DTD. That's why we are just going for XML schema. How we say this as a disadvantage? So here we don't have a specific type or different type of data. We just have a common format of parsed character data. Rather in XML schema we have many data types, plenty of data types that is available. So that is an advantage, and that's why we just switch over to an exclusive technology called as XML schema. So here PC data is nothing but parsed character data. The next line for next element. So that's all with the document. So this is the thing that would be available in a DTD. Here we don't have any prologue part or else any document part, completely we have, this is the end of the document. So now this can be saved as a separate file, file name dot DTD. We can save this, we can type this in a separate editor and we can save it as file name dot DTD, and this file can be used in the prologue part at the place doc type space root element system space that file name dot DTD. So this definition about the corresponding document and type of structure that is been available here will be applicable to the corresponding document. Then in case of internal DTD, how would be in case of internal DTD? So we have just told about the third line where this particular DTD is being used, doc type space then root element, then we open with the square braces, we define all the things, that is definition and structuring of the document, then we close the square braces, then we close the tag. So this is for internal DTD, this content will be coming completely inside the XML document, then followed by the corresponding documents. So this DTD will be just telling you how many elements are used, which is the root element, which is the sub element, what are the corresponding child elements, each element how many time it is been used, that is denoted using the qualifiers, then attribute list, what type of attribute is being used, what is the use of that corresponding attribute, either it is optional or else mandatory, that is required, implied, fixed or default. It has many values here. So here it has ID, that is identity, other one is ID ref, that is identity reference, that is also been used here. So this is for attribute list. So next one for data typing, so we just go for element, definition for element, name of the element, has PC data. Has PC data means parsed character data. So likewise where all the data comes, we will be mentioning about the type of data. This one is type of data, this one is attribute list, here value for attribute, the next one elements, which is the root element, its corresponding child, the sub element, it corresponding childs. This corresponding sub element how many time it just comes. So it tells about which is first, which is second, what is it, how it can be done, what type of data, everything is being defined here. So this DTD is nothing but defining and structuring an XML document. So that's all with this corresponding XML document, how a XML document is being used and what the XML document, how it can be validated. So next one is web services. So what is a web service? So it is an application. So it is an application that is available in web. It is an autonomous unit. So everyone can go and access this corresponding web service. It is called as a public autonomous service. It is called as a public autonomous service which is available in a web. So it is called as a web service. So this web service is an important component that is used as a third party service provider, For example, I can just give you a real time example. So normally we just go for net banking, we just go for online banking. So of these online banking, online shopping and all these things, of these things we just have a particular task called as credential authentication. What do you mean by credentials? Username and passwords are said to be called as credentials. Credential authentication means authenticating the username and the password. So this particular task is not done by the corresponding bank web application. Rather, this can be done by a third party service provider. Only for this service, they acquire that particular autonomous unit, they process, then they will be just coming back to the web application. So that is called as a web service. For example, weather forecasting, geographical information, like this many things are there available in the form of web services. So, three components of web service. First one, service provider. Second one, service requester. And third one is service registry. These are the three important components of a web service. This can also be called as SOA, nothing but service oriented architecture. These are the three components of service oriented architecture. So, here these are the three components that is given in this format. So, what is the use of a service provider? Service provider creates services. Service provider create services. For example, that credential authentication is one service. They will just create that service and they will publish that information on the service registry. This can also be called as service repositories. When they are publishing this information on service registry, it becomes web service. When that particular service is being made as common and it is being brought to web, it is a web service. So, this particular service is being registered here. The functionality is publishing functionality. Publishing functionality. So, what type of information will be registered here? So, here three type of information will be registered here. That is nothing but white pages, yellow pages, green pages. The information will be registered in the form of white, yellow and green. So, white will be just giving you list of services. White will be just giving you list of services. Yellow will be just giving you what type of service it is. What type of service it is. Green pages will be just giving you how to interact. How to interact to the corresponding service provider. Okay, so these information should be available in the service registry. Then next we just come for service requester. Those who are in need of the service, they just go and find the information in the service registry. So this is one application, this is one application, this is one application. Everything is made on web, so all the three are web applications. So this one is a public repository or registry. So now the service requester goes and finds the service information. So that operation is called as find operation. So here between service provider and registry, it is publish operation. Here between service requester and registry, it is find operation. So this service requester goes and finds what are all the services available in the form of list. The next one, what type of services available. Then third one, they just identify one service and they just goes and finds how to interact with that corresponding service. They download a service information in the form of a WSDL document. So WSDL is nothing but web service description language. So this document, this is a document. So this document describes about a web service. So when you download it, we just get it in the form of a WSDL. The next one, how these informations are registered. That is registered using an important thing called as UDDI, that is Universal Description, Discovery and Integration. So description is describing about the document, discovery is service requesters goes and discovers. Integrations is they integrate with the service provider. This information has been downloaded and then the service requester will just contact with the service provider and they create a bind. A bind is made between the service requester and the service provider. After a bind is made, automatically they just acquire the service of the service provider. How they acquire the service? So the service will be here, available here. So here they will be just invoke the method that is available in the form of a service and they get the response and acquire and utilize the service. So this is the concept of a web service and this is the concept of a service oriented architecture. So here we use three important things as an important component here. So one is UDDI, universal description, discovery and integration. It is for publishing information. Then WSDL. WSDL is web service description language. It is used for describing about the web service. The third important component is there, which is very important, which creates an interoperable environment. That is nothing but your SOAP technology. What is a SOAP? Simple Object Access Protocol. It is a messaging protocol. It is a messaging protocol. So it is used for encoding the data. So the data will be packed as a SOAP message and it will be used. So what is the use of a SOAP message? It creates an interoperable environment between the three components. So that is the use of this SOAP message. So the mechanism that is used in SOAP is an RPC mechanism. An RPC mechanism is used in a SOAP technology. SOAP is a protocol which is called as interoperable protocol. So interoperability plays a major role of creating different environments getting integrated. The SOAP is available in the form of a message. The SOAP format is an XML format. The SOAP format is an XML format. Here the SOAP format is an XML format. The WSDL document is an XML format. So everything is in the format of an XML format. So it is very important to know about XML before going for web services, because XML is the backbone of this particular web service. So like this, many type of services is available in web. When we just go for online purchasing, online shopping and online trading, online e-commerce, whatever it may be, e-governance, everything this web service helps both the government, both the business people and also for the common people. So that's all about this XML and web services. Thank you.